Wednesday. We don't even know if it's watercolor Wednesday. We don't know what day it is. We got Pepper though. that's a that's a plus at least. We may not know what day it is, but we have Pepper. That's the important part. So we were just talking about this. It's like I can't make it watercolor Wednesday because I actually do not have access to my watercolors at the moment, or for that matter, a desk. So we were going to tear up the office here and get it reorganized for standing desks and stuff like that, but we haven't gotten that far yet. So there's that. So that's all right. We'll get there.
Yeah.
How you doing, Pepper?
Uh, well, I got through the major project I was on. I got the deadline done. I still have a few things to do for them.
No, you can do them on
Um,
the show.
no, I can't do them
So
on the show, unfortunately. I do have like a bunch of sketch cards that I have to get done. That people already paid for, so I need to do that. But like, I've my brain has been so fried because of the stuff that prevented me from coming on all last week.
right.
That like I'm trying to get my brain to go, okay, it's time to work again. Like you need to stop this. And my brain's like, but we just don't want to. We want the break.
What in the world? There's motion at my front door. Oh, are we still working on the thing today? I have a ring now.
Okay.
I love my house, so I put a ring on it.
Yeah. Okay.
So the the coolest part though is that I actually can like see what's going on outside right now.
Mm-hmm.
And my phone just alerted me that there was motion at my front door. And I think it's the solar guys. And I think they are still doing solar stuff and messing around with my solar system. I have a solar system.
Yay.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out what the guy was doing in my backyard. I actually, so like I have literally had a ring for what, not even 24 hours yet, and already it has alerted me that somebody is moving around in my yard, and I'm like, how often have people been moving around in my yard and I didn't know it? You know. So,
Well, I mean, I don't know.
hey,
I'm
like
thinking
people just
like,
wandering around in my yard all the time.
hmm, sorry, I woke up super early this morning.
Yeah,
Um,
I actually did too. I got up at like 3:30, and I couldn't go back to sleep, and so I tried to read, and I actually did finally fall asleep at like I don't know 4:30 or something.
I juiced an entire watermelon that weighed about 20 pounds.
Why would you do that?
I was really, really full.
Okay, so the dude was here. I think that's just a dude who was. I don't know what he was doing. It was very strange. Very
Someone's living
weird.
in your house now, guy.
I mean it's just some
You
dude in
got you
the,
got solar panels. You got the good money. That's what it is. Is you got money because you got solar panels now.
So my trick to falling asleep is, and I have to preface, I love learning, but my trick to falling asleep is watching educational videos.
right.
And it takes me back to high school and listening to that monotone voice just dragging on. It just puts me right to sleep.
That's fair.
Even when I want to learn the subject and I watch it, I fall asleep.
And
I am taking snapshots of this dude just in case. I don't know. Although I am now kind of duly impressed by what I can do with, with my ring. I'm like, this is so cool. There's like somebody wandering around in my backyard. I don't know if I think that's that cool, but
that aspect of it is probably not cool, but our new backyard is coming with these things that look like little pot children. They're like these figures that someone made. They're planter pots, but they're terracotta planter pots.
gotcha.
And they're stacked and formed in a way where it looks like they have little arms and little legs. And they can probably get up and walk around the yard and pick up children's toys and play with them and never
Right.
give them back.
So what you really mean is that they are terracotta.
Yeah, they're terracotta. Terracotta.
Terracotta.
Terracotta.
Terracotta.
Terracotta. Terracotta.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Pokemon. Terracotta.
It's like a Disney flick.
Yeah.
Terracotta.
Yeah.
What a wonderful phrase.
Somehow,
Actually, if you watch the on Disney Plus, there is like this Mickey Mouse like series where the final episode, like episode 10 of it, like it had me and Bill like bawling in stitches, like crying laughter, because it was a riff on a horror theme, but it was just so well done that it's like this is like the introvert's worst nightmare.
Right.
Like
Right.
I think it like there's some moments like where some people may actually cringe at it, but it's just like it's so well done, and it's like what would have happened if Mickey and Minnie were actually horror villains? And that's basically what it turns out to be. Like that's
No, that's not right.
it's The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse, and the episode is just before this.
The Wonderful World of what?
The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse, and the episode is just the four of us.
Oh gosh. That's awesome.
Yeah, but it's the final episode of the season, so it's like, what did George come in?
Yeah, so I think he's after a fly.
Oh, okay.
So he is. The problem is, I think he's walking on the air conditioning unit, and I keep wondering whether he's going to reset the air conditioning unit to, nuclear winter or something. I don't know what he's going, because he's walking on it,
Yeah.
and it's got touch pads on the top for controls.
Mhm.
So I'm just waiting for the moment that, now he's sitting directly in front of it.
Well, he's
George,
a black
I
cat.
believe-
It's probably hot in the room.
Right. Well, he also seems to have the disposition of me as far as temperature goes, because he likes to sprawl out on the tile on hot days. He'll just like,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, I see that you have like my temperature tolerance.
You're his human.
Yeah. So I think he's like, oh look, there's cool air coming out of this. I'll just sit right here.
Yeah.
Which is what I think he's doing.
So, but
Google.
another update, and I did post this on Facebook, so some people may know. My long-standing light box, the one from the late 60s, early 70s, that was owned previously by my mom's dad, my grandfather, fell over, and one of the switches broke. So two
Oh, no.
of the lights can't be worked
Powered up,
anymore.
right.
And I have to say, I've never replaced the halogen light bulbs in there. And as far as I know, the bulbs that are in there are original.
Wow.
So I had to replace it, and I got a new LED
Rig inside there.
rig. Well,
And
no,
as far as you know,
actually
you
just got
won't
a
have to
brand new
replace
light
the
cable. I
LEDs
got a-
either.
Yeah, I got a brand new light table. I didn't even get a new rig. Or sorry, I didn't get a rig or anything. I just got the light table itself because I can put it on my desk.
Yeah.
It's just an aluminum framed LED light table.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and so yesterday it came in, and I swear I was like a small child. But like the reason why I'm bringing this up is you were talking about the ring, and there's been a rash of delivery thefts in our building, in where we have our deliveries done, and and we're also realizing that someone may be siphoning gasoline in our neighborhood as well. So, and you think I'm joking, but we've gone from a full tank one day
Why would
to
I'm not
like a
thinking it.
quarter of a tank like the next day, and it's like, no, this shouldn't be happening. We don't travel that much. Like the only time that we travel a lot, like this upcoming weekend, we have to go up to Loveland for a place up there so that we can get that scheduled for before set up before we move in. But like, yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, we're moving to Loveland.
We need to say that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking at pieces of paper all of a sudden. I'm like, yeah. No, last night was really kind of nifty because my best friend came over and he replaced our living room fan, which the living room fan, we're pretty sure was the original living room fan for this house in 1978 or whatever. But it was getting to the point where when you turn it on, it just sit there and go, and you just like, oh god, I'm gonna die.
Higher
You know,
pitched squealing, it would sound like a turtle having sex with a shoe.
that's exactly what was going on though. So we had to get rid of the turtle and we had to get rid of the shoe. But and of course it was also one of those, as soon as you turned it on, it'd sit there and go,
Yeah, time to replace the fan.
sort of thing. So I was like, woo, time to replace that fan. So we got this new one, and speaking of LEDs, the light in it, the little light that's in the dome for it, is an LED, but it's like plate. And we were like looking at the plate and going, this plate's cool because it just has LEDs all around it. It looks like a clock.
Yeah.
And it has a diffuser in front of it. So when it's on, it just looks like a normal light. Nobody would know the difference. But inside there, it's just this plate with all these little LEDs all around it that all just turn on. So
Yeah.
the new fan down there just runs quiet. It's also my buddy Kevin is 6'2", and he has hit his head on the old one too as well because the lights hang down, kind of like this guy right here, but not as bad.
Yeah.
This one's not as bad. The other one, the downstairs one, was low enough that he actually had to duck to get under it every time. And of course, it's our gaming table is in our living room. That's what we did. Why put a couch and a TV in there? The primary thing we do in this household is play games. So the living room is our big gaming room. It's got the big bookshelf on the side with all of our games. It's got a big table in the center underneath that and everything. So, and then while we were at it, I got the ring, and so I had my buddy put the ring on while we were there because we already had the power off to half the house. So, you know.
So how did Samara come out of the TV if you had the ring?
Well, I actually was going to put the ring into Mount Mordor, but instead, now it's on the front of the house.
Okay. So, and then Samara just like crawls out of the TV.
She crawls out of it. Well, the ring has a camera, so now she has to come out of my phone, though. That's the problem. It's
I don't think she can.
Smaller place for her to get out of.
Can she get her head through there? I mean,
you think about it. We are born out of an orifice smaller than this, so she's just not with that attitude. She can't. is my thought. She just needs a better attitude. She'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
Boy, it was like 12 jokes all in a row, right? We're gonna stacking them up.
Well, if someone actually like if someone doesn't get all of those references, then I'm like, sorry.
I'm there for you. George is like, you have put all these wonderful surfaces for me to lie on. I'm like, thanks, George. I'm glad I'm being assistance.
But
Goofy-ass
yeah,
cat.
I will say what's good about the new house that we're going to be moving to is I'm going to have my own office with a door to shut.
Yeah, I know, but we'll miss messages from Bill.
Bill has decided to put his desk right outside my office.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, but we've already gotten a quote on a tempered piece of glass for watercolor making.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So now I am tasked with trying to find some materials to make sure that I have a desk to be made to have that covered, like basically to hold it up and not have any issues. But I'm also thinking of like, okay, I need to get a desk for those cases, like on Watercolor Wednesday when you want me to make watercolor, and that way I can have it like right there and like, not have to worry about things.
Yeah, I'm doing kind of trying to set this up now. I've moved my desk. My desk has moved over to the other side of the room. That's a better place for it, but I've got now a problem of how am I going to get power over to the camera? Because like the computer's going to be here and the desk is all the way over there, and now I've got to figure out how to get a USB line up over, or under or around the room, or I don't know.
Well,
So
I have to get a new camera as well.
Yeah.
Because the camera I use above my desk is actually Bill's camera that he's actually supposed to use for work.
Right, that you have pilfered and stolen, and
And
now
he
you
says that I
said
can
it
use it.
on air.
Yeah, he says that I can use it. The only problem is it's not an HD camera. It's not like it doesn't show the best quality when I upload into videos on YouTube anymore because you say that. I have yet to find it record in HD. So there you go.
Was it right now?
Yeah, HD maybe 10 years ago. I don't know.
But you need like a professional like DSLR recorder.
Right. I need a DSL recorder, and I also need like a hole in the head because I am over my head. Yeah. I feel. Messages from Bill.
First things first. Move into house, flooring, popcorn ceilings, painting, then camera.
Right.
So, Guy, what you doing for a couple of weeks? We need someone to help paint.
Right. Hey, as long as it's not the next couple of weeks, you're in.
Well, it would start
trouble.
after it would start after NDK. That's for sure.
Yeah. I am a markedly freer man after NDK, boy. I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's the reason why. One of the reasons why I'm going to be late is for NDK is because I actually have to go up, walk the home with our caseworker to make sure that we get everything down in one list that we have to get done before we get a baby to come into the house.
Man. Yep.
Your caseworker, I just think you know.
Yeah.
That's what I think too. So, man. So EarthTow actually pinged me 2 days ago. They want me to go rework a card, so that's gonna be fun. I don't know I haven't seen the information on it though, so I hope they get it to me soon because I don't know if I'll be able to roll it out in time for IndieK if they don't get to me quickly.
All my stuff is on hold right now.
Yeah, they've got something specific they're looking for here. This was a well, it's a card that I've worked before. So they're after something on it because I already did this card once. So they're looking for something else. And they're looking for a rework on this card. So
Yeah, I can only do the retro style machines for them.
I think they're just happy to have different styles. There once was a time when it was just me. And every card looked like the same style because it was me on every one.
Yeah. Yeah, it works. It works.
And soon I've got to start working on the second book of Silver Pentacle because that's already in my shop. But I wanted to get pages of Bellatrix Rising actually under my belt before I started doing that because I really didn't want to. I mean, I want to be able to balance it, but I think I want to get to, half the time I'm working on commission work and half the time I'm working on Bellatrix Rising sort of stuff. Things. But the house is in flux right now, although it is markedly smarter than it was, say, 2 months ago.
Gotcha.
In fact, we even have a Roomba now.
You have a Roomba?
Yeah, we have a Roomba. It's hooked up to the system now.
Okay.
I can tell the system to go vacuum now.
Well, I just need to. My mind is starting to go. I should probably go back to sleep once we're done.
I think so too.
Huh? I'm sorry?
I said I think so too.
Oh.
So if you were to expire one day and eventually turn to dust, the Roomba would definitely.
I'm only hearing half of that. I'm sorry.
So if you were to die and no one found your body and you would eventually decay into dust, the Roomba would just continue to go and then suck you all up.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's amazing the number of pieces in this house that are becoming. It's really kind of cool. I mean, the ring was just part of what was going on because, well, that was actually a fix. Our doorbell died. Like a year after we moved in here, and it got to one of those where you had to push it absolutely flat. If you pushed it this way, it wouldn't ring at all, and if you pushed it this way, it would just go ding, but it wouldn't go ding dong. So, it was like, and of course, up here in the office, I don't hear anything. With all the fans running and all this stuff, or I'm in show like this and I don't hear anything. So. The ring was one of those modifications we were looking for, but apparently the ring takes over your entire system and does not, in fact, ring a doorbell. So you have to buy a separate little chime that sits on for anybody who doesn't have the phone connected to it, because my phone's connected to it, so it tells me when somebody messes with it. Yeah, well, actually, have you, Jenny? Have you seen the videos of the cat sitting on the Roomba? The cat's just like.
I've actually, there was this one video with a Roomba that, like, a parent put, like, a baby on top of it.
Right, the baby sitting on top of the Roomba.
And the baby's just like, But, like, to get the baby to go to sleep, they actually would put the baby in the carrier and then put the carrier on top of the Roomba, and it would just take it around, and then eventually the baby would fall asleep. That was the trick.
Heck,
Instead
my dad
of having to get
all the time with me without the Roomba. He just stick me in the car and drive me around the block.
I feel like that's the market.
Yeah, Messages from Bill.
Hey, Brent. Hey, Jenny.
Hey, Brent. Hey, Jenny.
The dog would go completely bonkers. The dog would melt down. The one thing I am the most worried about is I have heard stories about Roomba and dog messes. Like the dog will make a mess on the carpet and the Roomba automatically cleans the carpet. And then you come home to poo splattered on every wall and, stripes across your carpet. Because the Roomba doesn't know, so it just keeps going.
So after that story came out, the Roomba put food sensors. So if it senses any moisture, it stops.
Oh, well, that's actually kind of cool. So my brand new Roomba will not, in fact, do that because it is the newest of the line.
Yeah.
With LiDAR. Gosh.
You know, we should think about getting a Roomba.
How about we actually just figure out on what type of flooring we're going to put in so that we don't have to worry about the Roomba going on around on carpet?
Or you don't want it.
They make Roombas.
This is not the time or place for discussion of what type of flooring we're going to get. I'm just saying let's decide that out.
This is totally the time. No, it's...
No, my office is actually going to get the bare bones treatment. The flooring is coming out and it's going to be concrete. That's what it's going to be. No, not for my office. I want concrete. I want the coldness on my feet. Okay, to clarify to some people, my parents...
Yeah, I was going to say, to clarify to some people, you're just weird.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal, is my parents in their infinite wisdom and my father wanting to always be a DIYer, they moved into a house in the 80s, and I was like around 2 years old. I do remember at one point, I think it was like 3 or 4, they tore out the carpet. This carpet was shag carpeting.
Right. Which makes sense because that's where it was in the 70s.
Yeah. And it was like orange, black, and white. It was like this thing. The same pattern can be found in a high-end rug at IKEA or somewhere else. I don't know.
I like that they're high-end rugs now.
Yeah. Yeah, shag carpeting.
Mm-hmm. Everything comes back.
Everything comes back. Yes. I digress. So essentially they tore this out. So what happened was my parents basically tore it out, left the concrete flooring, and then the concrete flooring wasn't replaced until my father left the house with stick-down tile.
Right.
In which case now my mom's house has wood, but like it took, I think, until I was in my teens for the wood to come in, which is what my mom wanted originally.
I actually, speaking of things coming back, a buddy of mine whom I went to junior high and high school with, she just posted pictures of her kids going, first day of school pictures. And one of her daughters looks exactly like her, complete down to the hairstyle and the clothes, because apparently we are now cycling back into the 80s again.
Yeah.
So like, I'm like looking at her daughter going, gosh, that's exactly what you look like. I mean, that's like right down the line, exactly what you look like. And it was really funny. Good morning, Jerry. Welcome to the show. We're talking about shag rugs. I don't know. We have issues.
Bill just said, now only if we could get some good music and one-hit wonders from the 80s.
Right.
I honestly, the 80s are coming back because of shows like Glow and Stranger Things and a couple of other things. Like we have the Goldbergs, which are on TV. A lot of people don't realize like shag carpeting was still being put down in the 80s as well.
Yes, it was. So I was sitting down with my niece who's 17, and I was like, I was looking at the way she was dressed, and I'm like, like I used to dress like that. And she's like, yeah, we're kind of hitting the 80s again. And I was like, what? Why is that? And she's like, because the future looks so bleak and so miserable. We're actually pining for the 80s. And I
Well,
was
you know what's funny is the thing is like if we went back to like, and me and Bill talk about going back to the '80s all the time. It was so simple to live life back in the '80s. Why?
well, what I
Okay,
told her
internet
was
was just starting out. Everyone
right.
was saying it was going to be a fad. It was going to die. It wasn't going to replace our lives. It wasn't going to put like this stranglehold on us. Like they said, computers would just go away eventually. They
Granted, I
would never
lived through it.
stick, you know. Like things were less complicated. We didn't have things like social media. Like if you wanted to get big in business, you literally had to work. Like
Well,
you,
that's something Dad used to say all the time was, he remembers when computers first came out, he was like, so it can add and subtract faster than me. How is that going to change the world? You know, he says that he used to always say that as sort of a cautionary tale. Don't look at something today and go, well, that's not going to do anything, because he looked at computers and said, there's no way that's going to change the world.
yeah.
And he said that to me while talking on Skype while I was in Japan, because that was what he was talking about. He's like, I never would have thought in 1962 when I first saw my first computer, that here I would be talking to my son across the ocean via camera, being able to look at his apartment live.
Yeah, and to follow up Jenny's comment,
Oh
my
yeah.
mother had a mullet for 19 years. 19. The mullet started in the mid 80s.
But I mean, that's one of those
What
interesting
did you
things
just
was when what do you say?
something like knock over, and I'm just like, what? And he was like, oh
Oh,
no.
okay.
And I'm like, what did you just do?
But I mean, like, talking to my niece, right? She's 17, and Judy's making commentary.
Yeah.
She's 17. She says this about like, well, it's because the future's so bleak that we're just pining for the 80s. And I'm like, see, I lived through the 80s, and we had 8 minutes. That was the discussion that was always out there, was 8 minutes. That's how long it took a Russian ICBM to get from Russia to here and obliterate everything. And so we lived under 8 minutes. And I was like, and then we had, all of these things of duck and cover under our desks, which wouldn't have saved anything.
I remember like my mom basically saying like, hey, if I tell you to get underneath here, you need to get in here before I started school.
Right? Because like you have 8 minutes. As soon as the information went out, we knew we had 8 minutes. And I was like, so, I mean, though, and then of course, crime was literally like 10 times worse in the 80s. We just didn't know about it. And so that's the thing. Like kids were just vanishing off the streets all the time and just like, never coming back.
This is also like when the time period, like, I mean,
oh no.
Yeah. Oh. I'm so sorry.
When I first met Jen, though, she had at least longer hair. That was after 8th grade, because I think you and I met when you were in 10th. So, right, you carry a knife at school.
Yeah,
right?
you could carry a knife to school. I mean, the town I grew up in, like, yes, it's South Florida, and yes, Florida is a bit crazy, but like, honestly, like, you have to understand. Before I started school, Florida still allowed. Before I started, Florida was still allowed to hit kids in school.
Yep.
Like the teachers were allowed to actually like hit kids with rulers. And such. And then I started school, and my older sister started school, and they had they had taken away, so 4 years before I started, pretty much, like she was not
trying to start a fight over here.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to start the fight. I'm just going to sit there and go, look, mullets are great on certain people.
I had a mullet.
Everyone's allowed to have a mullet, and I'm just going to say that. Okay? But if I want to have anything from the 80s...
Gen 4 remembers my mullet. I had a mullet when I was hanging with Gen 4.
You know what, though? But if I actually did have to get any 80s hairstyle, I swear it will be it wouldn't be a mullet, it would be a mohawk. And it wouldn't
A
just be any mohawk. It would just basically be like the bright ass pink mohawks, right in the center. However, I knowing
Well,
the
thank you.
cultural aspects of that now, I don't think it would be a good idea. But
Yeah,
I mean,
probably not, but
yeah.
yeah, business in the front, party in the back. Yep. Yeah. The '90s had more fun and clothes had color. That's interesting because it's funny that you'd say that because of course in the '80s I was in my black period. Everything I wore was black. Everything was
Yeah.
black.
I just want to point out
And-
that I just recently this is a comic page that I drew, and it's based on the '80s. Okay, see those wall colors and everything,
Brown.
the browns and stuff. This is the '80s, but the clothes are also from the '80s. So the bright green, the blues.
Well,
I don't have the
so-
hot pink, and the reds aren't super bright, but let me be realistic. This is literally brown walls and bright colors on clothes. That was the '80s for me.
The house that I grew up in just down the way here was built in 84, 83, I think was when it was built. Yeah. And
Okay.
had orange countertops and orange carpet, like orange.
Yeah,
Not
I
even
get it.
a nice orange. It was oh my God, what were you guys thinking orange? And,
so the kind of orange I like.
right. The kind of orange that you and I enjoy now today because we're weird, they put in there with a straight face. And that that gets me every time. Looking back at photographs of it, I'm like,
Well, I just want to point another thing out about me being weird. My dream kitchen is the Brady Bunch kitchen.
it's very cool with a lot of avocado, man.
Avocado, bright orange, like a brick oven. I'm not saying I'm a
Dual
weird geek.
ovens, one on top of the other.
Yes, exactly. Having a double oven.
Puke green shag. Oh my God. Pumpkin orange.
Oh yeah, no, I love sap green, which is as other people call it, puke green or doo doo green.
Yep.
Pumpkin orange, I like. I mean, trust me, I like all of these colors. I had a thing where I'd use retro colors from the '60s and '70s, a few years back, and everything I designed, everything I did had a brown, a turquoise, a muted red, an orange, a bright yellow, you know. So it's I still like that color palette. I don't know. Maybe I'm stuck in the early '70s, late '60s. I don't know. But
And to be fair, I really love the future retro that we had in the '60s. I mean,
Yeah.
being a Trekkie, I guess that makes kind of sense because I'm a Star Trek fan. All of the stuff that they did in the original series was they essentially went down and said, "This is all modern. We'll buy it," and then they bought it and stuck it on the set. So and I'm like, you can't see it now because it's buried. But over there, I've got a Burke 116, which is one of the chairs they used, and it's the model of chair that they used. It's not actually.
I have to laugh at Brent's comment.
Yeah, right. Poor Bill.
So Brent, I'm starting with the oven.
Right. So
Bill's already passed a retro style refrigerator, and I was like, yeah, sure. Where are we putting that?
right, not mad.
The refrigerator. So our oven and stovetop, the stovetop doesn't work properly. It only has 2 burners that work with it. So yeah, there's that.
I am still finding brushes. I have been tearing up this entire zone right in here and trying to get to it. And I don't know what George's deal is,
Oh,
but he loves these brushes. And so I find them all over the house. And I'm like, I swear that cat is getting into the bag because I've been sealing them up in a bag, and then I'll still find brushes. So what I did was I'm really lucky. He only likes the cheap $2 bag of like 50 brushes that you get from Michael's. He doesn't go after my real expensive brushes. He goes after the cheap ones, but then he also leaves them everywhere, which then makes my child and my wife yell at me because they keep finding my brushes everywhere. Dad, stop leaving your brushes everywhere. I'm not. It's the darn cat. But I just found this on the floor just now. Just now.
Yeah. And to answer your question, Jerry, he did get a new chair.
So it doesn't squeak and die.
And I got a new chair as well. We went to someone's home from Craigslist, and surprisingly,
So they're home on Craigslist.
we went, yeah. So we got these nice chairs. According to Bill, they're bulletproof, but I have yet to find out how that is. So.
They're Herman Miller office chairs. Enterprises buy these things like in the thousands, but they themselves cost $1,000.
Right.
And they're meant to, last for years. So.
Yeah.
And they're ergonomical. They're great.
Yeah.
I had one of those, the office chairs that you buy, the industrial office chairs. Those are the best. And I'm still pining over the one that I had before I went to Japan because, I mean, it weighed half a ton because it was all metal. The entire thing was metal. But it had these really thick pads on it. So, like, the seat was a really thick, nice, floofy pad, and so was the back. But the rest of it was, and it must have come from the 80s because it was cream and blue. So the pads were blue, but the frame was cream. And it was a metal frame, so it was a metal, post with the four wheels. It was like, and it was serious. It was seriously serious. So, but then I gave it away before I went to Japan. I'll get another one. And I have never had a chair as cool as that one since, and I'm still bitter about that.
And I'm gonna respond to Brent real quick. So the new house is actually was built in 1972. We've already looked at getting in. Huh?
It's as old as me.
Yeah. We are planning on getting a new front door that's like turquoise because we have to paint the outside. So we were like, sure, let's go ahead and do that. So, and to answer Jerry, yes, both of them are gaming chairs. And the beautiful thing about these is they're breathable, so none of them actually cause you to have buildup of sweat butt.
Sweat butt.
Or heat. Heat is like basically wicked away.
Right.
So
well, and I mean, we're about to tear up this entire office and make it all standing. So I guess what I'm going to do then is, like, at some point, just put a super comfy chair in one corner or something, and so I'll work all day and then sit down every so often.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be better for my back.
Yeah, and I'm just going to get back to one more thing about the house. So we may be using some of the modernistic things to decorate the house, like from the 60s. Bill wants to take a whole bunch of like small pieces of wood and make a feature wall going down the stairwell. Kind of like, you know what I'm talking about, like different lengths of wood to make it look like the wood is water. But it's not water, it's a lie. They're rectangles.
We're just saying they're rectangles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house, so we have to buy more stuff.
Heated gaming chair. I spend my entire life trying to vent heat. I feel like I feel like a 100-ton Atlas mech from BattleTech or something. I spend all of my life venting heat, and everybody's like, "Ooh, heated seats. You need heated seats." And I'm like, "No, I really don't." In the dead of winter, I have the windows open. I mean, I do everything I can to vent heat.
No, the water is a lie, but not the cake.
Yeah. Although, so I have one of the
Uh-oh.
things that we have managed to do was we have managed to. Oh yeah. I like that design though.
That one's a reclaimed wood, so mine probably won't be as dark. I'm just gonna use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Brent, you missed the beginning of the show where we talked about the fact that I have now managed to sufficiently tear up this office enough that all I have now that's operable is my tablet, and that's it. This tablet right here. So my watercolors are all packed away because my desk got moved over there, and it's packed away because we're going to put in a standing bench along that side, and underneath it will be all the storage for all of my painting supplies. So for the time being, all the storage is over here being packed away until that bench gets put in. But I am excited about what's going to be going in over there because, like I said, we're recycling these doors. We had these doors in the garage that were from closets, and so we're recycling and reusing them. And when I put that one over there, when we moved this table, the light that the camera was mounted on snapped and broke. The little plastic mount that it was on snapped and broke. It's a $25 desk lamp, one of the ones with little clamps that clamp onto things. So it's not like it was super expensive, but I'm like, but the metal parts are all good.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to drill a hole in the bench because it goes all the way over and slightly covers over the table just a little bit. Just a little over the table.
Yeah.
So we're going to drill a hole in it and put the light there. And for the first time, that light's going to literally be over my shoulder at the desk, which it's never been before. And that means the camera is also going to be directly over my shoulder, looking straight on it. So you'll have literally the same view that I have at the desk, which will be great.
Cool.
I could use the doors as a model train layout. I know people have done that in the past. That's actually what kind of gave me the idea, is using old doors to start a model train layout. But I'm going to use it as a ton of desk space because I have a lot of different projects that need to be done. I've got my 11 by 17 printer is sitting at a weird angle over here because in its berth, this is the printer berth right here is where it's supposed to be. There's not enough distance from the wall to open up the back flap to put an 11 by 17 page in so that it'll feed that through. So you have to rotate the printer 90 degrees and then put something underneath it, which is where my Burke chair is right now. My Burke chair is the stand for my printer. So part of this is to put the printer over here so that you mentioned cake and now you're hungry. So anyway, this remodeling, though, is now officially on hold until after NDK because last night I was getting frenetic and Kevin looked at me and said, "You're going insane. We'll put this on hold until after NDK. NDK first, then we'll do your office." And I'm like, okay, that's fair. So there's that. The cool part, though, is once we've done this, there will be a table here, and a table there. But this area will all be open, and I'll be able to put a blanket across here and be able to do photography this way with lights.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to that, too. I've got a lot of... We've actually set up the room with some logic for photography, and I'll be able to shoot human-sized targets instead of shooting little things. So if we ever wanted to have people here, I've been thinking about doing cosplayers where they do the poses and stuff like that. And you take a picture of them doing poses so you can get all of their cosplay and stuff like that. It's 2 weeks. Although, to be fair, I thought I was moving into the Gaylord next Tuesday, and so I was panicking. and I was completely flipping out because I was like, I only have like 5 days left. But then Kevin was like, wait, so you're going to go to the Gaylord 2 weeks early? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, we still have 2 weeks. And I looked at the calendar and we did. So I was able to not, in fact, need to down an entire bottle of Xanax or whatever to bring the anxiety level down.
Well, I don't think taking that many Xanny bars would be a good idea.
I was pretty stressed yesterday. I was running around really stressed out yesterday. It was pretty ugly.
Yeah.
So
I was about to say, it was like, that's
it was an unpleasant experience I was having. Because I still have about 12 things on my to-do list for NDK. And I was like, I'm 12 big projects that are still, including my Makiwara, which is the target for my bow and arrow, which needs to be fixed so that it can be used for the opening ceremonies. And Kevin was trying to figure it out, and we came up with a cool new idea, which involves a trash can. I think that's very funny. So we're going to take So the Makiwara in traditional Japanese Kyudo is a bale of hemp straw tied together and then trimmed on either side. So it makes sort of a drum-shaped object. Yeah. Then you put it on a stand and you put it about 4 or 5 feet away from you and you shoot your arrows straight into it. It's because Kyudo is all about having your body shaped. Well, we can't import hemp because agricultural crap. So what we were doing was trying to build our own, and the guys on Facebook, on the Kyudo group on Facebook, were like, just go get corrugated cardboard and roll it up and tie it. And I was like, oh. So I bought a box full of corrugated cardboard, and then we went to Walmart there, and for $12 got one of those 30-gallon trash cans. We're going to dress it up. We're going to cosplay it. It's going to cosplay as a Makiwara. So we're going to put burlap all around it so it looks like it's straw. It's fun. Mm-hmm. You really are falling asleep. You know that, right?
Yep, I am. I'm listening to you, though.
Yeah, you are. You're like, I'm listening.
I'm listening. Okay, to be fair, though, I went to bed at like around 9 o'clock, and I woke up close around 1 o'clock.
We have like 5 viewers right now. That's like the most viewers we've ever had or something. So they're watching you fall asleep.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm listening. All right.
There are Twitch streams.
There are Twitch streams where you can watch people sleep. I understand that.
Right? Well, that was like what we were talking about with Geek Tank. Apparently, like very popular for people to watch people eat. And we're like, oh okay.
I watch people make and eat food.
Right? It's like, and that it's like my kid who likes to watch people play games, not play the game.
Oh,
he doesn't want to play the
lullaby.
Yeah, I know.
A scientific study where they study people and show that watching someone take an action is like you experiencing having taken the action yourself. So that probably makes some sense as to why the kiddo is so enamored with YouTube videos of people playing. And I would get it if he was enamored with games that he wasn't allowed to play, but he's not. He's
I need to get up and
get up and walk. He watches videos literally of like Mario Brothers, which he has on his Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Or he'll watch run-throughs of Zelda, which he also has on his Switch.
Sometimes I watch stuff like that because sometimes I watch stuff like
here and have a seat and join us.
Sometimes I watch stuff like that so that I can see how they did it.
Yeah,
so I can improve my gameplay.
That's what I was thinking too, because like that's why I listen to Critical Role podcast, which is they're all playing D&D. I mean,
Yeah.
D&D is always going to be different, no matter which way you listen to it, because it depends on the players and depends on the DM and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I also like to listen to how Mercer GMs, because as a GM, he's really got some cool. Jerry's like, messages from Bill. And it works. I'm okay with it. But yeah, he's got some good tactics and techniques that he uses for D&D, which I like to employ.
Mhm.
So same thing. I'm watching it to sort of learn. But I mean, the volume. Well, the thing that really my kid's into that's really weird is glitching. Like he likes watching the videos where they have broken the game.
Uh,
Where like well, if you run Mario into this mountainside and you do it 3 times while pushing the A button and the right shoulder at the same time, he'll flip onto the other side of the mountain and he'll be under the mountain.
mhm.
Okay, and then what happens? He falls to his doom because there's nothing under that frame. So once he's on the other side, he just goes ah, and I'm like, so why do you watch that?
Mhm.
Because I want to do it. And, okay. I mean, that's cool, but
It's
you
it's
just
new ways to experience the same content that you've already consumed, but in a new way.
makes sense, I guess.
That's
I mean-
where like a lot of game development companies get it wrong, where they're like they produce this game and then they never turn back to it, and they get upset if you try to emulate it. It's because they're like, no one should enjoy that anymore. You should be moved on. It's like, why? Why would you deny people to enjoy content just because it's old?
Honestly, the number of times that I've seen the original series of Star Trek, although to be fair, you think about it, Paramount has put out Star Trek on VHS, and then they put it on DVD, and then they put it on Blu-ray, and then they went and remastered all the space effects, and then they put it out again. And everybody keeps saying, oh well, they're just milking us for money. But the truth of the matter is, you're right. They're not. They're just being cognizant and aware that some of us Trekkies will watch Star Trek until our dying day, even though it's only 79 episodes from a show from 1968.
Yeah. I rewatched it when they redid it, like they updated the space and the planets, and like it felt brand new, just
Right.
by it having that facelift, and it was highly enjoyable to be able to see.
It turns out that when that happened, that was the first time I had seen many of those episodes uncut, because I had watched them so much on Channel 2 here in Denver,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 kept cutting small bits of it out to put more commercials in.
Right.
And it had gotten to the point where they had knocked a good 5 or 6 minutes out of each episode.
Mm-hmm.
And so the remasters were the first time, and I'm like, I don't remember this scene. So for me, I was actually like literally getting new content too. I mean, I'm like, wait, this is them beaming down to the planet in this episode. I don't remember that. And they obviously thought, well, we all know that they were down on the planet, so we'll cut the scene out, because they're whatever. There was a couple of episodes which actually made more sense once they put all the scenes back in.
That was actually the first time I got to watch it all the way through, because I was much younger, so I was only catching them like here or there whenever the episode was shown, and I happened to be watching the channel
Right.
at that time. It wasn't until Next Gen where I was like dedicated to that time slot and watching it.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. It is interesting though. I think that it's fascinating, the timelessness of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of ability for, I meet people who are younger than me by decades, and they're like, oh yeah, no, I watched all of Star Trek, the original series, and yada yada yada. And I'm like, none of those other shows from the 60s really hold up as well. You don't find people who are in their 20s or 30s going, I watched all of Lost in Space. It was one of the greatest shows ever.
All right, Bill, get back to work.
Messages from Pepper.
It was great talking to you, Bill. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, you're back, and you have something to drink.
Basically,
Oh,
it's the
see,
watermelon.
now that's just awesome, though. But see, I knew your kids were awesome. I've always known your kids were awesome, Jen. So there's that. It's a thing.
To answer your your thing about like 20s and 30s about people like watching Lost in Space. I think I actually watched Lost in Space when I was a kid, and then I met the eldest sister of the three kids
Uh-huh.
in person at MegaCon, and I didn't realize that you actually have to pay for their autograph. She like signed a picture and everything before taking my money.
No, there you go.
And I felt really bad, and then she's like, "Oh, I felt really bad." She felt really bad because her handler never told me.
Right.
And
I had that same experience with Doug Jones, except different. I was at a con and we were both tabling, and it was dying down. The con was kind of winding down a little. There wasn't anybody there, and there was nobody at his table. So I went over to talk to him. This is during first season of Discovery, and I was talking. I was like, "Hey, don't let the haters get to you," and stuff like that. And he's like, "You're so nice," and he gave me a hug. And I was like, "Yay, Doug Jones hugged me." And I was like, "Hey, can I get a selfie with you?" And he's like, "Sure." And I took a picture. And then later I looked at the picture, and in the background it says selfies, $5. And you could see it in the picture that I took. I didn't know. I wasn't looking. It was Doug Jones. I wanted to talk to Doug Jones. Same thing though. He didn't say anything. He was a sweet guy and didn't say a word about it. And he didn't have a handler there at the time. It was just him sitting at the table.
yeah,
So I'm like,
yeah. Well, and the thing with me is her handler was right next to her the entire interaction and
Right.
never told me. And like, I think what it was like they were operating off the fact that they thought that I knew, and I
Right.
didn't.
I actually, having kind of worked cons, I think that what you end up with is, do I have to kill you? Where are you? I don't even know where you are, Cat.
I'm behind a box.
I know he's somewhere destroying something. He is after, what he's doing is he's chasing a fly. There's a fly in here, but everything is over here, like piled up. And so he's chasing the fly through all these piles of papers and things like that, because they all are going to go under these tables when the tables are in. And I don't know what he's doing, but he's destroying. He's such a destructive little cat. He's not even little.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think what I was saying was, I think convention wise, I feel like having been there, I think what happens is that we will enforce it, but only if the guest really wants it. But if she's not really pushing and you don't say anything and she doesn't say anything, then I'm just gonna let it go. Because why get into a fight, And so I feel like that's the thing. Of course, Doug Jones didn't have his handler there, but at the time, because we were winding down. It was either early. I can't remember whether it was early before like Sunday morning, really early, or something like that, where there was nobody on the exhibitors floor except the exhibitors, and so it was like a couple of people wandering around, but nobody. So there was no line at Doug Jones, and so I was like, "Ooh, I get to go talk to Lieutenant Saru." And I even said that I was like, "I think you're doing an excellent job at Lieutenant Saru," because this was right after the premiere. And he goes, "Oh, but just wait, because I'm not lieutenant for very long." And so I was like, "That's so cool! I now know something." Of course, that night was like the next episode, or where he gets a
I think
promotion.
my top two at conventions. Well, the first one's gonna always be the interaction between Cassandra Peterson and me.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
Elvira is something, man.
Yeah,
Elvira
but
always
she wasn't
be
in.
famous.
She wasn't in full. She wasn't in
No,
full.
no, no.
getup. She was
She's
in.
in-
She was as Cassandra Peterson.
I was about to say she
Um,
actually is very specific about when she's in makeup, she's Elvira. When she's out of makeup, she's Cassandra Peterson.
Yeah,
It's
and
very
I want to specify this appearance. They could not afford the fee for Elvira,
right,
so I just want to point that out.
which is why she does that, and that's
Yeah.
actually really clever. And I have lots of props for that.
Yeah,
That's a very
Her
And
handler though.
she set a lot of trends because of stuff like that. I'm like,
Yeah,
how artists put themselves forward and stuff
yeah,
like that, and how they can portray themselves. She
yeah.
did a lot for that.
Her handler is extremely nice person, but when I met her handler the very first time, I was very intimidated by her handler.
Yeah, can't imagine.
I'm not gonna lie, like her handler, like she will look at you and you'll just basically, I didn't do it, and you didn't do anything yet. You just were
Right.
sitting there. But she was nice, and I basically went up to her handler and I was like, "Listen, I have these 3 images I want to show her, and do you think that this is something she would be comfortable with me doing?" And she was like, "Oh yeah," and she'll probably take one too. And and that's what ended up happening. She got one of my paintings that I did, a 6x9 painting. And it says it's like a riff off to the Dr. Seuss thing, "Are you my mother?"
Right.
And it's like, and I put like featuring Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, underneath it, and it's like Elvira like twitching her fingers, like bending down, like she's trying to talk to a child, and this child having her makeup in a Wednesday style like outfit with knee high socks that were
Stripes.
stripes and
Yeah,
everything like that.
stripes.
And she's like, she looked at all three, because I also had the Attack of the 50-Foot Elvira, and I had Elvirella, which was basically a play on Barbarella, but
Right.
Elvira, with the Elvira with the Barbarella gun in Elvira's hand. And she took that one, and she's like, it was just like an awesome experience. The other one was a voice actor who voiced the robots in Battle Angel Alita, the Healbots.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I met Doug Jones at that same convention that she was at. She actually told me pretty much a lot of the different parts that she knew about for the movie, the live action movie for Battle Angel Alita, because they brought her in to play the robot again.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah.
Man, that's such a good movie.
Oh, and I got a hug from Doug Jones too.
Right? Because Doug Jones is the bestest person ever. I really felt bad though, because people were just ripping on Discovery, and I was like, look, just don't let him get to you. There are a ton of us, hardcore old school Trekkies from that watched the original series in 1979 and whatever, and we still are really good with Discovery. It looks awesome. We're happy. We're doing great. And he was like, thank you. That's important to know. You know?
I will be realistic. Out of all of them so far that I've watched, the Scott Bakula one is the
That's
worst
fine.
one. Scott Bakula, I loved him in Quantum Leap. I just don't like his Star Trek series.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
But I think I know the reason behind it is the original creator of Star Trek did not make that series, or did not put the idea for that series in motion. It was other people.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, really, the truth is that Gene Roddenberry passed away in like 91. So he really wasn't. I mean, you could say that he might have been involved in Deep Space Nine, but he wasn't involved in Voyager really at all. And even then, when he was in the show, they only let him be in creative control for seasons 1 and 2 of TNG, and you can see it. Seasons 1 and 2 are kind of cringeworthy still. And then season 3 is where they kind of sidelined him and made and it's so sad because he was very upset about it, and I don't blame him for being upset about it, but he was upset about it, and so.
Well,
But
I mean, Whoopi Goldberg did actually, in fact, actually confirm that Gene Roddenberry hired her. He was the last. She was the last actor cast by Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah, yeah, and that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
And she came in second season of TNG. So, but yeah, Enterprise has a different feel, and it's a very different series, and I didn't like it either. I like it a whole lot better now. Um, in
As
hindsight, I like watching it. In fact, it's kind of been recently my go-to. I don't know why, but I've been kind of watching random episodes of Enterprise just because it's cool. Um, and there's no real. I don't know why I'm doing that. I guess I'm trying to relive my 20s and early 30s, which is where I was when Enterprise came out. Um, but yeah, that I it's first, second, and fourth seasons. You feeling all right over there?
Yeah.
You whittling?
Yep. Awkward turtle.
Awkward turtle.
Awkward turtle.
Bacula, Tron, and T'Pol.
I find there's good gems and there's good bits to Enterprise, and then there's just what were they thinking, and they just took a whole lateral move, and why did they?
I honestly want to have a show where we don't bring up Star Trek or Japan once.
What?
I want us to do a show where we don't bring up Star Trek or Japan once.
Good luck on that one. I'm like, wait, what?
If you guys haven't figured out, maybe you should start a drinking game.
Right?
How often do we talk about Japan? and
Well, we do. We all seem to have we have a number of topics that we keep coming back on. I mean, it's not just
like Star Trek because Bill's here, and like I'm just like, all right, I know you're a Trekkie, and it's like, I get it, but it's like it's one of those things where it's like, someone even pointed it out to me the other day. They're like, yeah, you guys talk about Star Trek universe and Japan a lot on your show.
Yeah. I mean, we also talk about we go through two of the top topics of all time, says Jerry. Oh man, we do. I mean, we talk a lot about that. Do you think we shouldn't?
No, I would find it very odd myself if we never did. I'm surprised no one's told me that they started a day drinking game based off of it. Like, I don't know, they roll out of bed and they're like, all right, let's get ready. Let's see on how many shots we're gonna do today. You know,
right?
But no, I mean, I don't know. Like right now, like I think we're both at a point right now where my mind is still a little bit fried from last week, and the work I had to do with the company that I'm involved with, and you know, I do want to actually do some work, but at the same time, like I don't even trust myself right now to hold a pen.
Wow.
So, yeah. Like my thumbs were twitching up until last night, actually. That's why I'm not over at my desk doing watercolors.
Yep. Well, we kind of were supposed to have done some kind of watercolors today.
Yeah, and like last night, I was just early this morning, I was like, maybe I should make a watercolor live on air again with God. Not do a skin tone, but like do like some weird off color that Guy's been looking for, and let's see if we could make it.
Right.
But then I was like, and then you're sitting there saying that your watercolor's away, and I'm like,
yeah, oh. Unfortunately, I'm out of commission for watercolors at the moment, but
yeah,
that's a temporary thing. It'll be fixed at some point here.
Sorry for the serious moment. I'm getting loopy.
I guess.
But watermelon juice seems so right. That's what I ended up having, folks. Watermelon juice with a
Watermelon
little bit of
juice.
lime. No alcohol. I don't have alcohol in my house. I'm literally like alcohol free.
You were totally alcohol free.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Are you sure that watermelon?
no, it didn't ferment. No, because I would sound a lot different if that was the case.
So yeah. So what kind of work are we doing now? What's your plan for this week?
Um, well, I still have some cards to do, but well, not really cards. I have stickers. So the company I'm involved with, they have a contract with a larger a trading card company for their system of games, and so they're partnering with them, and I believe they already announced it. So essentially, it's Tops, the trading card game.
Nice.
Trading card company, Tops.
Trading card company, yeah.
And so they have two different types of cards coming up, and I finished my work on one of those, and then I finished my work on the actual release of the game for coming up in October. Like this past Sunday, I was like, I'm gonna need to get it done. I finished all my cards. I did 20 cards in total for them. And then I have 5 cards that I have for the other type of Tops cards that they're producing that I still need to do. And I think grand total, I think I've done like 30, 35 cards-ish so far. So, but I have to do comic pages for the anthology, for the Florida Man anthology I got into. So I got the first one done, which I already showed you guys. I have pages 2 and 3 already, and I'm waiting for him to send me 4 and 5. Next week, I'm actually going to be out all week again because I'm going to be with my family in Rhode Island. My grandfather passed away in 2020, so we're doing a memorial service so that we can actually honor him. This is basically a funeral after the actual funeral. It's a very weird experience for me. His birthday was actually yesterday, my grandfather that passed away.
Right.
So that was... So, I'm sorry if I got you guys all bummed. I'm sorry. I'm just like, I have a lot of weird things going on in my life. So what are you up to? Hopefully it's more uplifting than me because I'm just a bawling ray of sunshine.
Honestly, what I'm yep. Decode a picture? Okay. You know I got it. See you later, Jerry. Have a good evening or a good day or have a good. There you go.
Have a good one, Jerry.
I'm going to start saying that now. I'm just going to start saying have a good.
Have a good? Okay.
So,
Jerry said thank you for messages with Bill.
So what I'm doing is I'm on page 5. I've done a number of pages now. And I actually had a wonderful moment last week, which was great. Somebody, and I want to say it was Brent, but I'm not 100% sure, mentioned the manga Gantz. And I had never, might have even been, was it you, Pepper, who was talking about Gantz? No, because you haven't been with me this last week. The problem is I can't remember.
Colton, probably Gantz.
Probably Colton mentioned Gantz, yeah. But apparently, and I've never actually read Gantz, so this was a new thing to me. But apparently, in Gantz, The author takes effectively the maquettes out of Clip Studio Paint, poses them, and then traces them. And he takes the entire process and puts it in the back of his manga. Just how he does the entire thing.
Yeah.
So almost literally the exact same procedure I do, which is great because that has been something that haunts me a lot. I use it for speed because I can draw without the maquettes, but it takes about 3 times longer. And since it has managed, in the last 2 weeks, I have managed to make 4 pages. Obviously, anything that takes longer is not good.
Yeah.
So any trim that I can do to trim up my speed to get out there.
Yeah.
But it was liberating to see that there is a published manga artist who out there blatantly just saying that and doing that and like he even said he started by just rendering out of Poser straight up, and that was his first manga. And as time went on, he felt like it didn't have enough of a feel to it. So he started tracing the renders to give it a little bit more realism. And that was when he picked up the idea for this. And so that has always been sort of a thing that haunted me and made me feel very, very bad because I felt like it was tracing, and tracing is always bad in our line of work.
Well, I mean,
That said,
it is what it is.
it's actually really funny because I don't think any of my artist friends actually disagree or actually agree with that mentality because they know that I built everything in my 3D environment. They watched me do it here on the show. I'll build all the models of the room and the furniture and everything like that gets rendered in the background. They see me unwrap it in UV and draw all of it by hand and everything like that. So they know I built the environments that we're seeing. But then the maquettes, I also did the same thing. I took their UV maps and I drew specific characteristics on them so that when wrapped around a standard Genesis 2 model, it actually has all the facial features of Chang or the facial features of Jen or all of the characters. I've adjusted everything. So I know I'm doing all the work. I'm just front loading it so that production's easier. But it still has it's one of those things where you have these one moments that somebody does an unintentional twist to your world. At one point in time, I was talking about how I felt kind of bad about doing this to my wife, and she's like, well, I would like to see you move away from them then. And what she really meant was, if you're bothered by it, maybe you should move away from it. But what it sounded like was, you're right, this is tracing. You are a horrible artist.
First of all, I want to point something out. There is a big difference between what you do and what tracing is. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Tracing is getting cosplayers to stand in positions while you basically take photos, and then you take those photos and you put them into like Photoshop or Illustrator or whatnot, whatever program that you use, and you sketch over them and call them a comic.
Right.
That is actually tracing. You're paying someone to go into the positions that you need them to go into. I understand that. But at the same time, it still is tracing over a picture that you took, not what you drew.
Right. Or even in this instance, like I was saying yesterday as I was drawing a pre-pose of Chang, the maquettes don't do this correctly. This part right here never comes out right. You always have to fix it. Chang had both of her legs folded up. She's sitting side saddle on her bed. So she's got both of her legs going to the right. And because of that, her calves on the maquette don't actually puff out. Yeah. But when you fold your leg, your calf puffs out on either side. So they're like places where I have to go and use anatomy to fix
Yeah.
the maquette so it looks right. No, really, what I'm trying to say is I have always felt bad, and it was an imposter syndrome problem.
Mhm.
Like, I felt like I was being an imposter because I was
Okay.
tracing the maquettes. And what I was trying to say was finding Gantz was like that's it, imposter syndrome. You really cannot fight in face of this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like there is a manga artist doing exactly what you are doing. He's published. He's been published for 20 years. The series is long running, well followed, and not a single artist is on this planet going, well, but he's tracing. There isn't
Yeah.
anyone who's so. It's really was more along the lines of it was very liberating because you can't. My imposter syndrome has worked really hard to fight this one to make it. I'm an
Yeah.
imposter, and it was really nice to just finally have a no. There's no way you are an imposter on this.
Yeah.
Here is an actual manga artist doing what you're doing. There's no way. So that's all it really was. Because you're right, it is silly. I use the maquettes to start the drawing, but I go through and I have to put expression and I have to put, personality into the drawing. And even if I am tracing just the basic outline of the character, all it's doing is keeping me from drawing eyes and then drawing the eyes like this, and drawing the eyes like this, and
No matter what your job is, you got tools. Okay?
yes,
Well, it was
you're
kind of
absolutely right.
it was kind of like I was talking to someone the other day, and I think it was like in the group of artists that I'm working on the project with, and they were sitting there, and someone said something about manga artists and watercolors, and I'm like, well, manga artists don't just use one technique; they use multiple techniques to accomplish whatever they need to do. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, if you've ever seen the interior pages colored, those are not watercolor pages. Those are actually Copic markers or an alcohol basic marker. And they're like, what? And I'm like, you can tell this usually with Rumiko Takahashi's coloring work inside of her comics. And
Yep.
someone's like, what do you mean? I'm like, Rumiko Takahashi made Ranma 1/2. If you look at the colorized version of Ranma 1/2, they are the manga pages that are colored. If you find them, they are legitimately, you look at them and you know that she used marker.
It's
But
true.
then at the same time, her covers prove that she used watercolor. And it broke down into a couple of different things. It's what's the job's task? What does this need to be used for to display or promote? What do you have to do this? What do you have to do that? And the moment that you start doing that, you basically have to kind of compensate in your mind of, okay, you're looking at this way. How is someone supposed to pick up your book and be completely over the moon by it and want to draw pictures of it? And that's basically like what you were talking about before is like you are trying to make a story that you want people to enjoy and possibly make fan art of. So you doing something to make sure it's perfect the way you want it will give them the best results for how to recreate something very similar that they want to do with your characters.
Right.
I
Well-
think, yeah. So
Well, and that was what I was doing earlier in my head was,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Are you trying to make fine art or are you trying to write a story?
Yeah.
If you're trying to write a story, then XKCD, you could do it with stick figures, and it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The art is important. The art is nice. The art is critical, but the story, I mean, literally, that's what novels are, is without pictures, right?
Yeah.
So if your purpose is to make a story, then the pictures are important, but they're not. Nobody's going to judge you for the pictures because that's part of the concept. But if your point is to make fine art, so I was making sort of a delineation line. If you told me to draw Batgirl, I would not use a maquette.
Yeah.
That would be because I'm trying to make some art for you. And but if I'm putting together Bellatrix Rising, it's maquettes the entire time because that speeds it up. And I will sit there with Batgirl and I will draw Batgirl and spend, the 5 hours or 6 hours it takes for me to get all of the figure to settle in properly.
Yeah.
And that would be a different story. But
yeah,
so that was my delineating, and that's still my delineating rule in my head. If it's speed, like when I was talking to Alex and them with Earth Tau, they actually are fine if I use maquettes. They don't care as long as it's fast. They just want it fast.
I'm just gonna get up again real quick.
You're gonna wander around.
No, I'm not gonna wander around. I'm just getting up real quick.
You're just gonna stand up so you don't fall asleep.
Yeah.
You know what? It is. I probably should do that too. I'm gonna stand up as well. Let's stand up. Oh my god.
The other reason why I'm getting up is not just to stretch my legs or anything like that. It's just like I just literally realized I was talking and asleep at the same time earlier with you.
Yep, I know. I saw it. It was like really weird. I was like, oh no, he's dead.
Can you just go check and see if the
Holy crap. Oh, gotcha. We got spammers. Sweet.
What's up?
Look at the spammer. Look at the spammer.
Bulimia.
We get herpes simplex something. I think that's funny. Sweet.
Wow. That's
right?
Wow. Okay, folks.
That is actually kind of funny.
Wow. Like, I mean, oh my gosh, the link works. Okay.
Right? It's totally canned ham. Let's delete this. I wonder if I could delete it. Can I delete it? How do I should be able to do that. I should. There's like, yep, I can delete it, but I have to go here and I can go block user on Facebook. Bork.
Yep.
I
don't even know who that is.
I don't know, but they're blocked, so that's funnier.
Yeah.
That wasn't what I wanted to do. I'm pushing buttons over here. Oh, I can add to the block list on Restream chat too. Oh, it's not perfect yet because it's freaked out. Oh, well. I blocked her, blocked. That's kind of funny. Gen 4 is like, nothing like canned ham. Like, right? But I can't kill it from the audience comments. I'll have to remember.
Now we have to basically wait until someone puts it in the thing.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't think anybody here is going to accidentally decide to email the doctor dude here. So we're just going to sit here and shame Paulina for a while. It probably isn't even Paulina who did it.
Yeah.
And that's the saddest. Somebody probably hijacked her account and is now just broadcasting this out across everything that she's connected to. What's even sadder about this is I just blocked her and put her on a block list for Restream, but she probably, you're falling asleep again.
Yeah.
Coffee's brewing.
Coffee's brewing.
Coffee's brewing. I think I may just need to take a nap after this.
Gen Force, like, she'll totally click on that bait next time she gets herpes.
I honestly, I know people who have herpes.
Of course, we all do.
I mean, we all do. It's the most common as STD. Um, but like, I'll be realistic. Like, there's only been one point in my life where I looked at someone and they offered something to me, and I was like, no. And the full reasoning behind that is because I noticed they visibly had herpes around their mouth.
Right?
It was disgusting.
Yeah. Herpes is not fun, man.
And also, I don't think it would be worth it for me to only give them $2 for doing what they said they wanted to do to me. I lived in the city. Not Denver, not Denver. I lived in Miami.
Right? I guess. Anyway, maybe we should
I mean,
do though.
I mean, I'm right there with you, Jenny. Like, seriously, my husband would ask me why we need to worry about herpes. We've been together for many years.
Many. He would count, but he can't because he's too tired.
I'm too tired to count.
He's too tired to count. It's all good. Actually, I just had my 12th anniversary with my wife, and we were together for years before that, but it was still, that's kind of cool, passing 12 years.
Yeah, ours is actually coming up in October.
Yeah. Ours was on Friday the 13th this month. It was cool. It was way cool.
Ours was on a blood moon.
So we got married on a blood moon that also had some weird planetary thing going on with like Mars and something. But basically it was a blood moon. That was the main thing.
Blood moon's important.
Yeah.
There were like 3 different things in convergence, and then I'll let it. You didn't know that when you planned it, to be clear.
Right? I have noticed many things that I didn't plan end up in my marriage, and I'm okay. You know, well, I didn't know that was going to happen, but it did. Although sometimes it comes out really just nice. I mean, you know, some things are really cool.
Yeah.
Right. For your 25th, all you got was a plaque and lockdown and this T-shirt, right? And all I got was this stupid T-shirt.
Yeah, there are some people who got a little bit more than just a T-shirt last year during the lockdown. My sister had a baby.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I wonder if we're gonna have lockdown babies. You know, like
I think they're called
like
Corona kids or
Yeah,
Corona babies, something like
Corona
that.
babies. Play and play.
Pig.
Hey, look!
Oh, okay. I need to go build
the screen for us.
Brewing time is 5 minutes. It's like 5 minutes.
All right. I'm
You
going.
gonna get coffee? You gonna get coffee?
Standing in.
I'm standing in again.
And we get Bill back. I like you're like the pinch hitter at this point because like he's like falling asleep. You're like, okay, go get coffee.
The funny thing is, I had a horrible night's sleep, but
You're like me. I have insomnia all the time, so I work really really hard to get like 5 or 6 hours of sleep, and then I'm just sort of a mediocre during the day, and then if I can take a nap, things are good. Like
mine was I was doing the thing where like you're just thinking and your eyes are closed and you're in bed but you're not sleeping.
right,
And then you open your eyes and several hours have passed and you're like, well, that's
right, and I actually did that last night too because I was like going through things and like ideas and concepts, and I'm like, I really shouldn't be doing this. I need to go to sleep. And I just couldn't. I kept going over different things. I call them the heebie-jeebies. Get up in the middle of the night and you're, did I finish this document? Oh no, I've got to do this before tomorrow, and I'm not going to remember this when I wake up, and I know that. I was arguing with my kid, and I should have said this, and I said that instead, and like all of those things just go through my head, and I know I'm doomed. I have discovered though that reading helps. If I can read a very engaging novel, I'll get caught up in the story, and that slows the heebie-jeebies down.
Yeah.
So, because I'll stop thinking about all those random thoughts and start concentrating on the story, and so I am able to go back to sleep. But it has to be two things. It can't be on my phone. I've noticed. I have to have a physical paper book.
Yeah.
So, like my Kindle, I can't use my phone. Can't use my Kindle. I don't know if it's something to do with the radiation of this, like the light radiation or, something. I don't know what it is, but whatever's the story, it has to be a physical paper book.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a thing.
Hold on.
He's going to
What
show
you
you.
working on today, Bill?
Me, I am in the subject of what's his new whiteboard?
It's a white piece of paper. It's a light board. It's a white. Hey, that looks really awesome in lighting up Bill. I'm just saying, you got like really good lighting.
Do it again.
For a second there. It's like a bounce light. Look at that. Look at that. That's so cool. I'm like, now I want to draw Bill.
He won't let me draw him.
I'm dealing with my own imposter syndrome right now because I made a bunch of changes to a system, and it's having huge beneficial effects. So I'm working with one of my teammates. I'm like, we got to go back and look at some of the other commits just to make sure like someone else didn't make a change that was really beneficial. Because don't get me wrong, I like adoration, but I want to feel like it's mine really,
Right.
not like someone else made this change and that's really what did it.
Right. Man, it's weird how we all like suffer from that thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's so strange, but it's kind of reassuring that you IT people who work on normal things like computers and stuff also suffer from it instead of us weird artists. Because I always kind of think we're just on a weird orbit all the time, and I'm like, I wonder how much of this is us on a weird orbit, or how much of that's just normal humans.
Exactly.
So it's good to know. I wish you well, Bill. I wish you well.
I'm trying.
Just taking it black. You're not having any-
Yeah, I just took my coffee black.
That's what I do. So Jim 4, the thing about it though is I rigged my Kindle to not be blue light. And I'm not sure that my old phone did switch to turn off the blue light, but the new one after my old one got soaked. See, so we're not that weird, Pepper. I mean, we're weird.
Well,
but we're
okay.
not that weird.
Let me reiterate. Imposter syndrome for me is like it only comes out for really nowadays when I'm at an event and someone comes up and goes, "Can I have your autograph?"
That's weird. That is really strange.
It weirds me out.
Somebody said that to me the other day, and luckily it was a friend, so my brain was like not as weirded out. Because if it had been like some rando person at a con, I'd be freaked out. I'd be like, I'm going under the table.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is the reason why I think it's imposter syndrome is I work for a game where people ask me constantly for my autograph, and I have been told by the people who created the game to charge people for my autograph when I do it. So I charge $10 per one. I made $150 at one event just for signing things.
Just
And
signing
that for
things.
me, yeah. That for me was a little weird. That is something that, like, a lot of people who know what they're like, know that they're on the top of the game and type stuff. Like, they do that type of stuff, and it doesn't bother them, because it's something that they think industry should be doing.
I wonder if we like sat down with somebody like I mean,
Yeah.
probably not Bill Shatner because Bill Shatner is really full of himself. But what if we sat down with like Terry Farrell or somebody like that who I know is very down to earth and grounded? And
Yeah.
what if you asked her, hey, does it feel weird to sign autographs? I'll bet she'd say that feels the weirdest. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure she would find that to be very strange. I've actually talked to Terry Farrell, so that's why I'm like, I can tell that she's grounded. I got to actually chat with her for a little while. She likes bathrobes from hotels. That's like her thing. It's very funny.
I feel like
She actually buys pants in groups because she's tall, and so she never finds pants that fit her. So when she finds pants that fits her, she buys like 20 pairs all at once. She's like really cool.
I feel like you need to do like a round table kind of thing where you got like 3 or 4 people, and you just talk about like experience and what it's like, and how do you deal with it,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
And
I
also how it
Kind of group
differs,
therapy.
and how it
Right.
how it also differs between jobs, because when I think of imposter syndrome, it's different than what Jenny put up there.
Right. Well, but she's publishing like papers and things like that
Yeah.
because she's in academia, and it's the same thing. But
Yeah.
I have like a pseudo sideways thing. I grew up with that girl, so like whenever people are like, no, she's like legit, I'm like, wait, are we talking about the same person? It's like I have that problem with my friend who's a lieutenant colonel in the army. Like we'll go on to base and everything, sir, and I'm like sitting there going, you don't know him. You know? So there's like sort of a side imposter syndrome where you're like, wait, are your friends imposters too?
Yeah.
Blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
Yeah, like it's like someone like I had to cancel an event this past weekend to get the job that I was needing to get done, and
You know
they
who I'm
mentioned-
talking about, Gen 4.
yeah,
And you'd be snickering too if you were on base with him.
and basically one of the people that were going to be at the event and basically help convince me to realize like my mental state was not the greatest. So like me being around a bunch of people may not have been great this past weekend.
Right.
So what he said to me, he's like, out of all of us right now, you're the only one that seems to have like a good commercial success going right now. I don't want you to mess that up. And I'm just like, I'm like, I have commercial success. Like,
Are you people?
what? And so when I was talking, like, and this goes back to like me, like saying like I did 20 cards for one, and then like having roughly 35 cards I've done for these people. Like, let me be realistic. That was me trying to convince myself that I actually did something very important, but I feel like I didn't do anything important. And I feel like when I was saying, I still feel like I'm like freshly starting new, even though I've been doing art as a side gig most of my career, but then like just recently it became a full-time career.
Uh-huh.
And like I still feel like I am brand new to this industry and everything. And then there's other times where I'm like, I see someone younger than me and they're trying to talk all this talk, and I'm just like, first of all, you don't know exactly what you're supposed to be doing right now, and I can tell right now. And it's like, it's that type of imposter syndrome that I try to avoid having, but also at the same time, it's like right now I keep running into the brand spanking, you are very green imposter syndrome where you're trying to act like you're not green.
Right.
And what I mean by that is like basically new to what the job that you're supposed to be doing is. And in
Right.
the art career, in art careers, unfortunately, for a lot of people, being seen as like a brand new person to the art scene is never good,
Right.
and so it sucks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brent is apparently an imposter of himself. He's just saying.
I mean, it's like,
Actually, I don't know. Brent feels like he's pretty secure in what he does.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm saying this as somebody who has observed him only on the internets. Really, I mean, I've met him a couple of times in person, but not a lot. So
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's like a real thing, and there's multiple people that talk about imposter syndrome, and they're like, it's all your mentality, and I'm like, just because it's mentality doesn't mean it goes away.
right.
It's always going to be there. It's not about a self-esteem or self-confidence issue. It's usually, if someone sits there and goes, "Wow, you did that like amazing," it's like, okay, but also, like, I don't compliment well.
Yeah.
I never have. I compliment, like, if you give me a compliment, I react like a British or Irish person. I'm like, why are you doing that?
Yeah. Right.
What do you mean?
I do
Like,
too.
just
I have,
did my
I have
job.
sort of I have sort of that feeling too. Sometimes it's like
Yeah, like,
everybody's like, "Your work is amazing," and I'm like, "That's when the imposter syndrome hits me the hardest."
yeah,
They'll say, "Your work is amazing," and I'll be like, "Yeah, but it's all tracing maquettes." You know what I mean? Like in my head, I can't.
yeah.
And then they'll be talking about the ones that I didn't trace a maquette on, but in my
So-
brain, I'm still thinking that.
So the most common card that people find in the card game that I'm attached to right now is a card called Thorn Whip. And it's actually my least favorite card. And someone brought up this good point with imposter syndrome. Your worst thing that you think that makes you invalid of being an artist at all is probably the one thing everyone will love.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think that's probably true as well. My more popular cards at Earth Tau are ones that I'm not that fond of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? Right?
yeah.
That's totally true. You don't say thank you. You instead go, but no, but you don't understand. You start like trying to. I notice you're using it even as we speak for your Twitch avatar. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that actually. Yeah. And I like Jen says, I'm trying to say thank you.
Yeah.
Because she's not wrong. She's totally spot on.
Yeah. I mean, and I was raised with a woman. Yeah, I was raised with my grandmother, like literally saying, like to me all the time, I know you think that's new. That's great that you drew it, but there's always going to be someone better than you.
Yep, I was just saying there was always the be humble sort of thing going on out there, and it was like because that was another thing is I'm very proud of this drawing. Okay, but don't get full of yourself.
Right, and that was her way of saying that, but like it also like deterred me from wanting to do what I wanted to do right away. So but I'll be realistic. The only skill that my family really wanted me to cultivate was the art one. So
sure, and I mean and it's funny how having a kid now, I kind of understand where people were going at the time, and. I mean, because now I'm looking at my kid who pretty much thinks he's God's gift to the world, and we've got to bring him back from that edge.
Yeah.
We don't want to crush his dreams, but he has to understand how to work with people. Right now, he just wants to be the boss. That's his dream, is to be the boss. He's in charge of everybody. Everybody listens to him. They all follow his orders, and everything is awesome. And I need to get him to move it down to the point where he understands he's one of many in a team working together to do something. I keep bringing up like the Saturn V is a great example. It took 300,000 people to make the Saturn V go to the moon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not just Neil Armstrong. You know, you can look at Neil Armstrong. Oh yeah, except he's been in that phase all of his life. Got to get him to back down a little because I feel like now that he's in middle school, he's aching for getting punched in the face. So I'm trying to kind of back him off of that a little.
And to kind of be fair, to kind of reiterate what you're saying, it takes yeah. I remember what I was like at 11.
Yeah, that's all right. I just need to, and this is the job that we parents have got, right? I mean, got to get him to understand he's a team player, and that's the way it works.
Well, it's kind of like me and Bill have talked, and like because we want to do homeschooling and everything, so like we're gonna give them an option for, as far as like, hey, do you want to try this out? And it's usually going to be something involving other kids, regardless.
Yeah.
Anything
well,
else?
You're going to have to, because that was actually one of the big driving forces behind why, I put my kid into schools, was because, everybody would say, well, but the school system sucks. And I'm like, he's got his academics down pretty good. It's not the academics I'm worried about. It's interfacing with other children that I need him to learn. Because he needs to learn how to interface with, 35 other kids, and be able to all go and play a game in the gym. I'm not worried. The kid spells at like an 11th grade level, and he reads at college level, and his math is already pushing into high school level. So the kid's got the academics down. That's not the problem. The problem is that he knows he's smarter than all the other kids. And I'm like, well, that's going to get you hurt. You can't just walk in and go, I'm the smartest person in this room. Everyone listen to me.
Well, it's kind of like I use, or actually one of my friends used this analogy for their kid. They were fans of Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
And they basically, honestly,
if you are in a group or a team, I think you're absolutely right. That's why I was like.
But like Sheldon Cooper is like basically the epitome of like someone who should have been humbled a long time ago.
Right.
But it took him into being an adult and realizing his actions finally after 9 seasons of a show.
Right. But I also feel like it's not just, Sheldon is a great example of that, but there are also people, I think, who don't have verifiable skills like Sheldon does. Sheldon has verifiable skills. The people who don't still have that attitude, and then they get very angry when they're knocked down because they can't actually get everything that they feel like they're owed. And I feel like that, having come from a teacher standpoint and looked at how students were operating through school, that may be one of the biggest problems in our society right now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like some of them get so angry, they hurt people. And so the idea is to bring the kids down a notch before they decide to do something terrible. So there is that. You are out of drink, and it's 11:02. We're out of time.
Yeah.
Gen 4, it was awesome having you on the show today. I hope you come back and visit us more often. Bill, it was great having you on the show today.
Well, just as he's fully awake, you're in.
Yeah, I know. Well, actually, I was just enjoying all the time I had with you. I was like, hey, I get Bill time. This is great. Nothing wrong.
Well, you were complaining that he wasn't on as much.
I know, right?
And
And
now you gotta, next time.
it's always good to have Brent here.
Job.
right?
I'm going to do his job, and he'll just come over here.
Right, there you go. You'll just go over there and screw up a whole bunch of servers. That's what I would do.
I'm
If Bill was like,
I just
okay,
know
I'm swapping
that
jobs with
Bill-
you, it would be such a disaster when Bill got back. Everything would be on fire.
Bill would
All
be
the
like,
servers.
what the hell did you do? And I was just like, I just deleted this part right here. What
I
the heck?
typed in
What
drop
you-
table. I don't know, Bill. I just typed in drop table. What does that do?
Bad thing. Very, very bad thing.
Oh, good. You'll try to pop in. Oh, that's actually usually when we do what we do today. Today was supposed to be Watercolor Wednesday, but everything's dismantled right now, so we couldn't do watercolors today. But Fridays are usually where all the artists check in, so you could check in with us. And I'm glad to have had Jerry here, and and so that's cool. I don't know what DF minus F is, except it's just D. So anyway. Let Bill know. Oh, gotcha. I think he's trying.
F minus F.
Yeah, don't do that.
Okay, don't do that.
I figure that's a don't do that moment. So.
All right.
We'll see you
all later. Bye.
And then I will see you. I'll see you on Friday, my friend. And I hope you go back.
Hopefully, I get better sleep.
Get better sleep. Oh, Linux to format hard drives. Gotcha. See you later, Brent. And I'll see you, Jerry, wherever you are. And it was cool. And I will talk to you all later. And remember, keep your eyes on the stars.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Computer, good night.